It's been overall a very, very different Bahrain test compared to every other years. It's been the conditions have been so inconsistent, which makes testing a lot more difficult to take anything out of because wind has changed a lot. Yesterday we even had rain and temperature was very low on the first day. So very different conditions days after days. So very difficult to have a lap time reference, which is quite important sometimes for the team. But at least the feeling I got it, and I think we've learned a huge amount. But it's difficult to compare it with the past and to see the strength or weaknesses compared to the year before. So that makes this whole testing a lot more difficult and probably going into the first race with a bit more unknown than other years. But on the other hand, we went through our program and that is a positive. We didn't have any particularly big issues, which is also a positive. And then we'll see in Melbourne where we find ourselves. There's a huge amount of excitement around the team, of course, with Lewis joining the team. I think that brought a lot of hype around the team, but the good thing is that within the team, nobody has been affected by it, and we've been really focusing on our performance and the way we have to work. So this is our priority, this is where we should focus, and not on whatever is being said around the team. That won't help us. So yeah, we are just trying to focus on ourselves. We've, as I've said, done all the tests we wanted to do, which is positive. And but there's still a lot of work to do before the first race. Yes, we have a big event in Milan, which will be really cool to because I mean the last time I've done such a big event in Milan was probably in 2019. I think we did something in Piazza Duomo, which was very, very impressive, and I'm sure it will be just as impressive this year. So on that, I'm looking forward to, and then a lot of work apart from this event. Of course, quite a lot of laps on the simulator. Try and find the last details that will make a difference once in Melbourne. Now we know what exactly the car feels like in reality, so we can also do a good correlation with how it feels on the simulator and start working even more into the details on the simulator. So this is going to be the priority until Melbourne. I don't know, it's a very specific track as well, so I don't think it will be very representative for the rest of the year. However, we've been competitive in the last 2 years there, and I hope it will continue that way this year. But yeah, I mean, it's a city track, so it's always quite difficult to understand and to anticipate the grip that we'll find once we'll be in on the track. So this will have to wait and see when we are there. But for now, we've got quite a few things to work on before getting there. So we'll finish the weekend, all the 3 days in the right manner with Lewis driving and hoping to have a bit more data. We are always, I mean, as much as testing is all about focusing on ourselves, whenever there's obviously a race run, you always look a little bit of what the others are doing, but we don't know in which conditions they are running. So it's a first glimpse of what we can expect, but there are lots of unknowns still. So we need to take this with a pinch of salt. But however, it was a really, really important run to understand from where we were lacking compared to them, but also compared to my own feeling. And as I've been saying quite a few times, we still have quite a bit of work to be done to be ready for Melbourne. So that's what we are trying to find and work for with Lewis ending today.
Am zweiten Testtag starteten Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris und Kimi Antonelli gleichzeitig eine Rennsimulation. Jeder der 3 Fahrer absolvierte 57 Runden und legte 2 Boxenstopps für Reifenwechsel ein. Im letzten Stint hatte Norris einen klaren Vorteil und fuhr pro Runde eine halbe Sekunde schneller als Leclerc. Allerdings ist wichtig zu erwähnen, dass Norris für seinen dritten Stint die T2-Reifen verwendete, während Leclerc auf den C1-Reifen unterwegs war. Die C1-Mischung erwies sich während der gesamten Testfahrt in Bahrain als die schwächste.
I mean, there's a lot of talks, obviously, probably a bit less in the last 3 days because we've been so busy, and the fact that one drives the morning and the other drives the afternoon means that there's always one person, I mean, one of us is busy when the other is doing nothing. So obviously the dialogue in this kind of programs is always tricky, but whenever we had a few minutes together, we of course speak about the car, speak about the driving, what we felt, what we expected that we didn't exactly got. So all these small differences, this of course we've been speaking of. The feeling is that, again, we've got some work to be done on the balance of the car before we get it exactly right. We are not yet in the right window, which is normal because in testing you try different things and you've got to do quite big changes in order to swipe all the different setup directions in order to make sure that you make the right choice coming the first race. So that's what testing is for. So that's what we've done. Yesterday we were a bit extreme on one side. Today we'll try other things. So yeah, all in all, it's all about trying and test every different directions and make sure that we are sure of the right one after this test. It's very tricky because even if I take the 3 days, we've had the first day where there was not too much wind, quite cold, so obviously the car feels always good when it's in those conditions. Then yesterday afternoon when I drove, it was cold, but there was a bit of rain and very gusty in terms of wind, which makes a lot more difficult to drive. And today the temperatures this morning were so much warmer, so the car feels even more difficult to drive, but that's mostly based on conditions. So we've had a bit of everything. We can see it as positive because I think we've, even the conditions, we've had a bit of everything, but that made it a bit more difficult for testing and to have an actual compare with last year. Again, I think there was a really big wheel of focusing on ourselves and just improving every single characteristics of the car by a small step, not looking too much around, which obviously is complicated because it's a relative sport, so you always tend to look around you, but in a weekend, I mean, in 3 days like this, it's very, very difficult to actually understand anything out of it. So you've got to focus on yourself. The targets are very clear and we want to be world champion. I mean, finishing second in the constructors, we want to win the constructors and also the drivers, but for that we've got to do the best job possible, and the best chance of us doing the best job possible is by focusing on ourselves. So that's really has always been the target, and we are not putting any extra pressure on ourselves to perform significantly better. We've just got to to try and do what's possible and maximize the potential of the car and the potential of this new car by improving everything, and that's what we are trying to do. And we'll see whether it's enough once we arrive in Melbourne. A huge amount, because I felt like in the past maybe we were a little bit more affected by what was going on around the team, and obviously a huge amount is going around the team at the moment with Lewis joining. And I feel like now we are a lot less affected by that, or at least we don't really look at the news anymore and we're just focusing on the job. So this is super positive.
Ferrari hat sich in den letzten Jahren deutlich verbessert, wenn es darum geht, sich auf sich selbst zu konzentrieren und gesetzte Ziele zu erreichen. Ein entscheidender Faktor in dieser Entwicklung war Fred Vasseur, Ferraris Teamchef. Seit seinem Amtsantritt hat er Struktur in allen Abteilungen gebracht, interne Abläufe angepasst und die operativen Fehler, die Ferrari in der vergangenen Saison oft zurückgeworfen haben, deutlich reduziert. Zudem ist klar erkennbar, dass das Team mit dem zusätzlichen Hype um Lewis Hamiltons Wechsel souverän umgeht und sich nicht davon ablenken lässt.
Again, the feeling on the first day was good. Then on the second and third day, the conditions became a lot more difficult, so it was quite a bit trickier. So now we are just trying to put the balance back in the right window, which is where our focus is on at the moment. So there's a bit of work in order to have the right feeling with the balance still, especially in the conditions we've had this morning and yesterday afternoon.
Dies war Charles Leclercs erstes offizielles Interview des Jahres. Mit Lewis Hamilton und Charles Leclerc hat Ferrari wohl das stärkste Fahrerduo im gesamten Feld. Wenn sie ihre Form aus der vergangenen Saison halten können, wird Ferrari mit Sicherheit von Beginn an um den Titel kämpfen. Die größte Frage ist, wie sich die Dynamik zwischen Hamilton und Leclerc entwickeln wird. Falls Ferrari ein siegfähiges Auto hat, könnte es zur Herausforderung werden, dass beide Fahrer um den Titel kämpfen, was bedeutet, dass sie sich gegenseitig Punkte wegnehmen könnten. Gleichzeitig könnte genau das Ferrari im Konstrukteurskampf noch stärker machen, da beide Fahrer in der Lage sind, über eine gesamte Saison hinweg konstant wertvolle Punkte zu sammeln. Ob Ferrari endlich den Titel nach Maranello zurückbringen kann, bleibt abzuwarten. Aber die Chancen stehen so gut wie seit Jahren nicht mehr. Wie immer, schreibt eure Meinung gerne in die Kommentare und vergesst nicht, den Kanal zu abonnieren und das Video zu liken. Bis zum nächsten Mal.